Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, dominoes falling for the Red Raiders after an Auburn wide receiver transfer chooses the good guys, as we always knew one of them would.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. And this episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase with the only Chris level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's show, we've got ads to discuss, both sides of the line of scrimmage. One of those impacting a group that has been a recently hot topic among Texas Tech fans, Locked On Texas Tech viewers, listeners, Matador Mob family, and the like. We'll get to the pass catchers and how they're impacted by this latest edition. I also want to talk about something we've touched on already once this week, but some portal touches in a different kind of way. You want to talk about text from the peanut gallery. I've gotten some questions recently regarding targets that maybe are not in the portal yet. Could such a thing be out there for the Red Raiders or maybe anybody else at this time? We'll get to that coming up in just a moment. But let's talk about these two new names as we know them and sit here with an ad defensively and offensively, Chris.
Yeah. Do you have a preference in which we discuss first here, Coach Cowan?
I'd like to tie in the pass catcher into the wide receivers in a minute. So let's start defensively.
Okay. I like it. You've added a Shield Wood guy, which we'd all love to be a Shield Wood guy. We all can't be that, but it just so happens that Corey Platt Jr. is that very thing. He came in on a visit last week, and I think he went to go visit Florida. And I think that, just looking at all options, I think that he ended up here. I think he and Shield are pretty tight. They obviously know each other and player-coach relationship and all those things. This is a young man that played against you this past season. I would say that he is so this is a front seven ad. I think he is very much best way I would say it is that he's a multi-year player that is John Curry depth or John Curry like, and maybe an AJ McCarty / John Curry backup piece for an AJ McCarty replacement, but built a little bit different. AJ McCarty was more safety playing that linebacker role. This is more of a linebacker playing that role that maybe could play some inside the box safety type thing. But look, he knows this system. He knows this coach. He'll be coached by his former coach, and I think was very productive this year. You're going to get him for more than 1 year, and it protects the front seven a bit from an insurance standpoint with experience. And yeah, I like this one a lot. I wasn't sure that they would, because it's hard to get everything. We all come up with a wish list on what we want, whether it be for Christmas or your birthday or just in life in general, right? Here's my goals. And you don't always get to check every box, but this wasn't one I wasn't sure you would be able to go find somebody that you wanted that would fit this role. But yeah, you absolutely did, from a guy that the defensive coordinator knows extremely well. And so, thumbs up on this one, man. Think AJ McCarty, John Curry depth, special teams, but could start. Absolutely. I think he started some games last year for Houston, and but this is what you've added here.
And from a defensive picture standpoint, I know he still has some things to talk about, but got to be getting near rounding some things out, I guess.
Maybe.
It's always a risky venture to say that.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think I would say you're maybe not necessarily you may be, but not necessarily done on the defensive line, specifically at edge. But we'll get to that maybe at the end of the show, kind of on what would be what would change that dynamic. How about that? Because I think that is an important. There are folks just now getting into the portal, or that maybe haven't revealed themselves just yet, that I think that you could certainly be interested in. But I think defensive end is maybe more where that would fit on defense in general. And then obviously we have the safety still that's yet to decide in Coy Parrish. But I mean, I guess we need to be done talking about are you done? Because hell, I don't know. I mean, it just seemingly changes, and there's so many things that have these butterfly effects, because who's to say that somebody on your side of the ball, that you're planning on being on your team, jumps in the portal in the next 10 minutes or later this week or whatever. And then you go, okay, well, I guess we need to go, so yeah.
I'm kind of interested to hear you mention the defensive front, because I would have thought really the obvious would be on the back end, but I've been also considering internal options on the back end, so I don't even know if it's on the shopping list. Is there a list at all? Yes, it's risky to say anything, but we've got to make a show.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you like your internal options. I think you like the safety that you brought in here, but I need to be careful about going, if you don't get him, then here's absolutely what you're going to do, because who's to say a new option emerges and you go, you know what, guys, this might work. And that applies to a lot of different positions. I don't think you would do that at quarterback or at running back, but I want to save the receiver component, but I still think you're looking for offensive linemen, specifically on the interior. I think you need a punter. I don't think you're looking for interior linebacker help. I think that between Brock Gowas and Adam Hill moving over there, and with what you've added in Austin Romaine, but yeah, there's a certain kind of DB out there that would present itself. I think they would probably take a look, but there's no guarantees that they do that either. So, portaling, man, it's stressful, like on our end of it, trying to figure out what all is going on and all the different moving pieces, and it goes both ways. It gives and it takes, right? As we're kind of living through.
I got to tell you, without having to cut any personal checks, though, I'm just enjoying all the moving pieces. I don't find a ton of stress on that front, at least. Yes. There's men sorting this stuff out in very nicely adorned rooms, I'm sure. Okay, let's get to the man. You want to talk dominoes and some impact otherwise. Let's get to the addition on the offensive side of the football, Chris, in the form of a wide receiver, a former Auburn transfer now in Malcolm Simmons. And wide receiver has probably been the most, next to offensive line, the most popularly discussed position group among our viewers, listeners, the Matador Mob. Part of that has to do with the marquee name you were pursuing, who does not choose to become a Red Raider, but also part of it has to do with an extreme hunger for more, given your most recent memory in the Orange Bowl, and that could go for a lot of things offensively. But been kind of curious to see how that conversation's progressed, like from need to want to, if there's a great player, we're going to take him. So we've got an ad here, and then there's the other part of it I got to talk about, those already internal, those returning Red Raiders and that impact. So can we talk about the player to begin with, and what kind of Texas Tech is getting here, maybe how he slots in among what we know to be there?
Yeah, it seemed that you were destined to land an Auburn receiver here, because you flirted with two others over the weekend. And I'm like, man, is Hugh Freeze just some kind of moron? Like, what, all this talent, everybody's fighting over it, and it's like they were just not very good last year as a team. Maybe that's Jackson Arnold related or offensive scheme related or whatever. But yeah, you add Malcolm Simmons here, who is, large in part. I talked to a few folks that cover Auburn when this came out, and I think you got Cam Coleman on one side, you got Malcolm Simmons, who you've added on another, and you've got Eric Singleton, kind of, is your guy that's kind of moving all over, not necessarily slot, but can play inside, outside. I think Malcolm Simmons is actually somebody that can do both. I think. I don't know what Mac Leftowich's plan will be, or Juice Johnson's plan will be on where they'll want to put him, but this is a 6 foot, 190-pound player. So he's a multi-year guy like Platt is. I think that there's been some things at Auburn. He's been productive. I think there's just been some things there, but I think that a change of scenery would potentially be great for him. He's going to get that, so this is a newer option that emerged because Malcolm Simmons, I think had taken some visits, and I think he was kind of down to, and this was widely reported, it was, hey man, it's going to be either Arkansas, it's going to be Kentucky, or it's going to be Texas A&M.
First, today's episode brought to you by Wayfair, and the holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together gifts or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has got you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresher, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Their selection is massive, making it easy to find everything in one place. And it's perfect for gifting too, with guides, tons of options, and something for everyone and any budget. And of course, no massive delivery fees, no stress, just the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around all over town. So get last minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
This was widely reported. It was, hey man, it's going to be either Arkansas, it's going to be Kentucky, or it's going to be Texas A&M. And then the Red Raiders swoop in, and he's committed, and you get him, no visit. These are Zoom meetings, so it's just this is the way in 2026 as we sit. This is just not out of the norm, but I think with the ball in his hands, he's a freak. I think that, you're trying to get him to be a really, this is going to be about where do they envision him being. But as far as like on the field and like with the ball in his hands and all the things, I mean, because I think On Three's got him as like the 8th best receiver in the portal and things like that. So this was a sought after guys that, a trio of SEC schools were looking at him. He played for a 4th in Auburn. I think in his last game against the Tide in the Iron Bowl, I think he went over, I think he had like 140 yards or so receiving. I think he'd done some punt returning for Auburn, but because if you would have asked me what so you're interested in more receiving help, what is the common theme there? I don't know if you're necessarily looking for outside, inside. It's got to fit this mold. I think you're looking for talent and you're looking for speed. That's what you're looking for, some juice, man. And he certainly, because I mean, he had in his 2 years, he averaged about 32 catches a year and about 450 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns a season spread out over 2 years. Because I think it was 65, 908. And 6 over the 2 years. So clearly has SEC experience. But again, he's a guy that I just think when the ball in his hands, he's very dynamic. But I think the change of scenery would be, or could be potentially really good for him. And it gives Brendan Sorsby another weapon. And it pushes probably the room. Like I said, I think this is potentially a player that's kind of a do a little bit of everything type guy. I don't know where Mac would envision, starting him out. Do you cross train him? Is he best for this or that, or for, hey, let's just find him a spot? But it pushes everybody in the room because you add him to Dante Lee, the Liberty transfer, and then Kenny Johnson, who I'm very high on, and then Coy Aiken, Micah Hudson, Jacoby Williams sprinkled into the slot if needed, and then you've got Jalen Jones, who you also added from Alabama State, who is, I think, strictly a slot. And then your guys like, I think you were touching on it a second ago, like Bryson Jones and Leighton Stone and Tristan Gentry. I mean, so this is a position, though, where you either had upperclassmen and your guys, or you had talented young players with no experience. So I think this kind of goes in the middle of that, but clearly very experienced. And he'll come in with some swag and because he's done it. I mean, he's definitely done it on a big stage.
So do you think this is the type of addition that could bring about any decisions for those guys we mentioned, or is this something that slots in, kind of well enough, or maybe not so much as far as pressure on younger guys to hit the portal or consider that type of thing? Get in the mind of a 20-year-old, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Don't think so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think it's some big secret that they were looking for receiver help. Is this like I'd wondered about like Cam Coleman, and if somebody like Coley would be like, man, I'm just not going to get any run here, maybe. But I don't think this is that, because I think this is a versatile piece, whereas Coleman was more of an outside guy. But I don't know, man. I really don't. And I wouldn't just say that this puts it all to bed on your search for help at this position or positions. I think you've got 3 tight ends you have Terrence Carter, and you had Jet Carpenter, who I think many thought was the best blocking tight end maybe in the portal, and I think he can do more than that, as we've touched on. I think you and then Matt Ludwig, Moose, I think is going to play as a true freshman. You've got your 3 backs, so you're starting to build up some depth and give yourself some options, protects you from injury and all the things. You're also, though, trying to mitigate risk, one, but two, you don't want a whole bunch of questions. You want somebody to bring you answers. And like some of the folks that you were chasing are like no brainer, like, man, that's immediate this or that. But now you've got a talented group that's got experience, and now you just let the cream rise. But again, I would say if there are certain players that would get into the portal that have yet to do that, I think that you're large in part can go at it this year with what you've constructed here. However, there may be some exceptions to go, okay, we're in that derby. We're all in, so we that remains to be seen.
I'm kind of trying to figure out where all these guys are going to stand. Are we still planning on just playing with 11?
Yeah,
I love the tight ends. I love the running backs.
Yeah,
love the wide receivers. We need 5 offensive linemen. I presume we're going to use the quarterback we got.
Well, and it's funny you say that, Cowan, because like I never really felt like you were thin with your skill spots, because this past year you just mowed through this league. Now, you had some red zone issues, but some reasons for that. But it was really your 2 backs, your 1 tight end, and then your 3 receivers. That's where all the numbers came from. That's where all the stats and that's where all the touches and all that. And it's pretty clear you've got many more options now. Or do you? It'll be interesting to see kind of how it gets sorted out, who's legit, who does the right thing, who understands the playbook and is available all the time, and you know what I mean.
Sure.
So there's that component too. But yeah, you seem to be quite a bit deeper with your skill and explosiveness and the speed component and all that stuff. And you remember this, but people were, why are you not getting into receiver depth? Why is it not rotate more? And I think that's kind of the preference of this particular coordinator, is to kind of rein it in a bit, whereas Kitley was more of a that's I don't know if that's Leftwich's preference, or if it was just the drop off, or if this is just the way they want to do it. But maybe you've given them, given yourself more options to think about and consider playing at this point, instead of just large in part playing your 3 starters a lot and then maybe a 4th guy and then your tight ends and your running backs in the pass game and all that stuff. So there's clearly more names there to discuss for sure.
I'm kind of wondering if it's sort of a casualty of personnel choices as well, because you're not just running out there with 4 wide receivers on every play and looking at it in that fashion. And I kind of slough off the term starter or things like that. I more so just think about like, who is your top 3 or top 4 most productive receivers? And those are your frontline guys, obviously. And sort of in that light, before we leave this group specifically, the name that is a favorite to be discussed until he's no longer on campus, Micah Hudson. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app, so before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Micah Hudson. Everybody wants to ask about Micah Hudson. I get it. Incredibly talented, ton of potential. I think we have discussed him in the context of trending towards being a starter, maybe even expected to live up to that as we get closer to 26. But what do you make of Micah's offseason upcoming and kind of his path towards this year? And if he's not a top 3 or 4 production kind of pass catcher, are we disappointed? I don't care about the term starter. I don't care who's out there on play 1, but you get what I'm saying. If he's not in that top 3 or 4, maybe kind of range among that group, is that not living up to potential this year?
Yeah, so I think the way this is going to get sorted out in time is that basically he's going to have 3 years left to play. And because I think the rule will get passed in a year or so from now, we're 5 for 5 and all that stuff. I think they'll backdate it, and guys that, so which means he gets not this past year, which he played, but the year before, when he was here, the tumultuous one. I think he'll get that back as a year that didn't count against him, and so he's still got 3 more to go. I would say that he's probably in the mix to start at slot receiver right now. I think he's definitely on the upper tier mix to be heavily factored in amongst your top 4 or 5 guys. Yeah. Does that guarantee him that? Does that is he guaranteed starter? I mean, I don't know if I know all that yet. And again, I kind of want to see what it all looks like when you're done with whatever you've put together, because I refuse to believe that you're finished with a lot of this. But maybe you are. There's just kind of an unknown component. But he absolutely factors in. Yes, he dealt with a few injuries this year, kind of not devastating, but like where he wasn't 100%, and he missed some time. But it was kind of him, Kelby Volson, and T.J. West-ish that were kind of like that 4th option going into these games. Toward the end of the year, it was mainly Kelby and Micah, and then we saw what Micah obviously did in Morgantown. And I think people are going to have an opinion about this player forever. Other fan bases certainly have an opinion about this player, and because I've seen it every time you add somebody, they're like, stay on that bench, Micah. That's just not what they're thinking here. You're trying to you're going for it. You're trying to win right now, and so you're trying to bring the best out of everybody. You're trying to give yourself options. You're trying to add speed and some juice, and you're trying to be better. Think about it. You're trying to be better across the board on offense than you were last year. You had a national championship caliber defense. I think it's fair to say that you had a top 20 type offense, and it bit you a little bit. So I think you're trying to come up with some different ways to beat people and to not get caught where you just can't move it against a really good defense, because that's the plan, is to try to be in these battles again, a little over a year from now, to where you're going against potentially really, really good defenses.
We sort of had a taste of the extremes. It's kind of crazy because there have been years where we've talked about some steadiness, but not much of explosiveness. And now it seems kind of like we're more explosive, but maybe not as consistent week to week.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize enough. I just think your new quarterback addition and his ability to run it and scramble and go off script and extend plays, but take it for 40, run over somebody. That adds a whole layer that is going to be a nightmare for teams to have to deal with. And then you're trying to cover all these guys. But hey, man, what does Joey love about Mac Leftwich's scheme? Score from afar. Well, it's Malcolm Simmons helps you do that. Kenny Johnson helps you do that. I don't know if they are Reggie and Caleb, but I think there's some that would say, man, I wish you'd have had a little bit more of this or that from those guys too. So I think this is just going to look a little bit different, and maybe there's a few more pieces involved as opposed to just those two guys playing the bulk of the reps on the outside. And, obviously, Coy Aiken involved too. So we'll just kind of see where this thing takes us.
Yeah, hoping that maybe the sum of your parts would mean that you don't have to have that guy go take over time after time after time after, and that includes backfield, tight ends, et cetera. So
yes,
we'll see.
Yeah, I am curious though, and I don't know if we knew that this year. If you had bread and butter, if you knew like 3rd and 8 where you had to go, I don't know if there was necessarily that piece. I think Caleb played that role. Reggie played that role. Terrence Carter played that role. Jacoby Williams kind of played that role. I don't know if you'll have one of that. I guess I would feel most comfortable right now with a guy like Terrence Carter if I just absolutely had to have it with what you've collected here. And Kenny Johnson or Coy Aiken may be next closest to that, but that will all get sorted out and emerge in time, and we may not know that until next October or whatever. So, and you just don't know how this gets sorted out. But you're definitely trying to be faster and deeper and give yourself some different options on what all you can do offensively.
And one of those that gives us one of the best opportunities as a pass catcher, he's going to have an RB beside his name. So keep that in mind as well, talking about our guy, Jacoby Williams. Chris, before we get out of here, conspiracy theory time or not, maybe reality. Had many questions along the way here during this transfer portal experience so far from mobsters and beyond about targets identified, unidentified, aerial UAP, unidentified aerial prospects. Basically, we're wondering about maybe things kind of lying in wait that aren't even technically in the portal yet, but could be considered a target or prospect or name to watch. I don't know if this is like in the territory of kind of that gooey middle, the gray area, if you will, or how that works. Is it even a thing, or is it a thing that us fans kind of dream about on the internet and discuss because we want it to be a thing? You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I do think it's a thing. And it may not be a thing, but I think that here's the best way I would describe it. Look, there's different reasons why and timing when kids get into the portal. They were always going to get in. I don't like where I'm at. The scheme doesn't fit me. I want to get back closer to home. They're not offering me what I feel like I deserve. Whatever. The coach just changed. All that stuff. Well, then there's as the window opens, team seasons end at different times. So there's that. Or hey, they've brought in some folks. I don't like what I'm seeing. My position coach or my coordinator left, in the last week. I don't like what's going on here. So I'm, or man, I just people are urging me to get in and just see what I'm worth. I mean, I don't know. Spin the wheel, man. There's a variety of reasons why kids get in when they do and all that. I just think that you should be prepared for your own and for other options to present themselves up until the deadline here. We may not even find out about some of those pieces that have entered, whether it be your own guys or other possibilities, until the day after the portal, because of the way the paperwork works and when it gets reported and all that stuff. And I think that you are absolutely in a position to pounce if you see something that suits your fancy. And I think that if you're the right outside receiver, if you're the right defensive end, if you're the right interior offensive lineman, which I think they're looking at right now anyway, and whatnot, because like, for example, like Oregon just had a flurry of players just enter because their season ended on Friday in dramatic fashion, or non-dramatic fashion, depending on how you want to view that. But they're just sorting through all this now, and so they have a whole flurry of guys that have entered. Ole Miss the same, but I would pay attention to this thing up until the deadline, which is later this week, and keep in mind too, Miami and Indiana, they will have a week to make any decisions off of those two rosters. Okay. So because they made the title game, they can go up until the following Saturday. So a week from the day you're playing Houston, I think they would have the ability to get into the portal up until that point, which is 12 days away from right now when we're talking ish, 11 or 12 days or whatever it is. So
not sloughing anything off then.
Yeah. So and then there's thousands of kids in the portal. So just because you kind of, the portal window ends and you kind of like what you got, you may go, man, we didn't really look at all these guys, but this guy makes some sense for us, and maybe it's not a big role, maybe it is, that you want to bring in to backfill or to play special teams or to add depth. I just don't know how many spots Texas Tech is working with right now. But, I mean, you've still got more room now. Again, punter, quarterback. I think are you holding a spot for Skylar Grill Howard? Would you add an edge? Would you add the right receiver? Would you best player that presents itself available, man? Maybe let's think outside the box a little bit. You see what I mean? So I think they've certainly got the ability to pivot. They've got money that they could spend and a process that puts them in a position to kind of pounce on something quickly if it presents itself. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But head on a swivel season. Still here, man. Still here.
Keep a keen eye. And if you're really one of the sickest of the sickos, go over that entire portal entry list, all 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,000 by 1,000 of them, and then know there could be a name you're going to get to know that's not even in the group yet. And what a pitiful showing by the Ducks. And as we all know, each game stands on its own. Every day's a new day, and no result has any bearing on the quality of a team given its result against an opponent previously.
Retweet.
Pathetic.
Yes, what he said.
Pathetic.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent conversation. Enjoyed the time with you, Chris. Appreciate your perspective as always, and looking forward to another one when we reconvene. We got a Hoops game day coming up pretty soon as Texas Tech is back in the LBK for a stretch here, taking it out on the state of Utah. You want to talk pitiful? You're just a square. It's just a box. Look at the great state of Texas. That's the shape of a state. What a beaut. We'll get to that as well, and many more things coming up as this window rolls on, at least for another week or so. Looking forward to it, Chris.
Yeah, man, we love you all, except for if you're from the state of Utah just this week. I'm kidding. But no, we love you all. Appreciate it. Keep hope alive. Head on a swivel, people. Head on a swivel. It changes quickly. We're doing the best we can. Bless you all for being patient with us. And welcome to the 806, Corey Platt Jr. and Malcolm Simmons. You are needed. You are welcomed. And until next time.
Salute to the everydayers. Thank you for always being out there in the Matador Mob. Find a link to a free 14-day trial in our show notes. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text and straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.